my dear brothers and sisters. Before proceeding further with the story, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every video. So, let's go. Let's start today's story. It is October 22nd, 2022. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning in a small town of Panu. 23-year-old Vishnupriya was leaving her home to go to the hospital. She went out to where she used to work. On the way, she got a phone call. Priya picked up the phone and said that she was coming. After this, she went back on the same path from which she had come. On the way, she saw a huge crowd in front of a house. She was near that house. She went inside because a person had died there, and it was none other than Priya's grandmother, who was ill. It was Priya's mother who had called her to give this news. When Priya reached there, preparations for the funeral began. Priya had already told her mother that she would go home and change her clothes. Her house was only 100 meters away, so it should have taken at most 10 minutes. But Priya, who had gone to change her clothes, did not return even after 2 hours. On this, her mother called her, but Priya did not pick up the phone. Had she put the phone on silent and gone to sleep? Her mother went home to wake her up and bring her. There were some relatives along with her mother. Was anyone thinking that, in a few minutes, the last rites of another person in the family were going to take place? No one could even imagine it, because when Priya's mother reached home, what she saw in that room was a very horrifying scene, a scene that she would never be able to forget in her entire life. Not only Priya's mother, but the entire Kerala was shocked by this incident. So, what exactly happened to Vishnupriya in 2022? This case had created a sensation everywhere. In today's video, we are going to solve this shocking case. You are watching. So, let's start today's video. Because Priya had been missing for a long time, her mother went home to check on her. Priya's sister also went with her mother to see her sister. When both of them reached near the house, the mother called out, "Priya, what are you doing inside? You called me. Why didn't you wake up? Are you sleeping?" Yelling like this, Priya's mother went inside the house, but there was no response from Priya. To see what she was doing, her mother went to her room. There, she saw. Priya's body was lying on the bed, but her head was hanging down. Blood was dripping from it. Priya's mother and sister, who were not expecting anything like this, started crying loudly. Their voices were heard all the way to Priya's grandmother's house. Everyone ran toward that house in panic. When they reached there, they saw that Priya was lying in a river of blood. They were afraid to go near her, but one or two people gathered courage and went closer to Priya, trying to see if she was alive. Then they realized that Priya's head had been severed from her body, and only a small part was still attached. Other relatives of Priya began crying, saying she was no longer alive. Immediately, the police were informed, and they arrived within minutes. First, they secured the crime scene and took the body for a post-mortem. The post-mortem report revealed that Priya had 18 knife wounds on her body. There were marks of defense on her hands, indicating that her hands had been injured while she struggled for safety. In addition, there were 29 knife wounds and a hammer blow mark on her head. The cause of death was determined to be decapitation, confirming that it was a brutal murder. Now, the question was, who committed this brutal act? The police investigated whether the murder was committed during a theft. However, they found that no goods, money, or jewelry had been stolen from the house, ruling out theft as the motive. The manner in which Priya was murdered suggested that it was a personal attack. Anger could have been the reason behind this brutal crime. The police believed that the motive for the murder was to torture and kill Priya and started their investigation from this angle. That morning, the police questioned Priya's neighbors near her house to see if they had seen anyone suspicious. The neighbors told them that they had seen a person wearing a face mask and a yellow cap heading toward Priya's house around 11:30 in the morning. With this information, the forensic team began investigating the crime scene in Priya's bedroom. The police also seized Priya's mobile phone and checked her call history. They called the last person who had talked to Priya. Someone picked up the phone on the other end. The police asked him about his relationship with Priya. He replied, "I'm Priya's friend." When the police informed him of what had happened to Priya and began their investigation, the man said, "Whatever I was afraid of happened. It was all because of Shyamji." This statement was important and related to the incident. The police were shocked to hear this. They checked Priya's phone for Shyamji's number and found it listed. The police traced the location of the number and found that Shyamji was in Nanthai town, 15 kilometers away from Thalassery. The police immediately reached there and arrested him. They hadn't expected to catch him so quickly, but there was a reason behind it, which will be explained later in the video. The police arrested Shyamji and began interrogating him. At first, Shyamji denied knowing Priya and claimed he had not committed the murder. However, exactly 3 hours later, he suddenly confessed to the crime. He admitted that he was the one who had murdered Priya. When he explained why and how he did it, not only the police but the entire state of Kerala was shocked. What Shyamji confessed was more horrifying than any movie. Shyamji's confession revealed that he was born into a middle-class family. He had a sister who was studying in college, and his father ran a small hotel that supported the family. A few years ago, Shyamji married Priya. Initially, both of them met and fell in love, but as time passed, their relationship started turning bitter. They began fighting often. One day, Priya told Shyam that their relationship couldn't continue, and she talked about breaking up. She asked Shyam to forget everything, and after that, Priya started moving on from the relationship. However, Shyam couldn't accept it so easily. He couldn't recover from the breakup. When Shyamji learned that Priya was in a close relationship with someone else, he fell into deeper depression. He started suspecting that the other person might be the reason for their breakup. If that were true, he thought he should kill both of them. But he was very careful and didn't want to make any mistakes. Shyamji began planning the murder. He searched the internet for ways to kill someone and started watching Malayalam crime thrillers and Korean films. In this way, he learned about different methods and carefully planned his attack over a period of 6 months. Shyamji prepared a precise plan on how to commit the murder. The first step was to gather a knife, a hammer, gloves, and an electric saw for the murder. He ordered all these items online and received them. Then, he went to Priya's house and entered her bedroom. He wasn't sure whether Priya was awake or asleep, but the first thing he did was grab the hammer. He hit her on the head to render her unconscious, preventing her from screaming. Once she was unconscious, he began repeatedly stabbing her with the knife. His final act was to decapitate her with the electric saw, ensuring she was dead. In this way, he thought of killing Priya by torturing her little by little and watching her death slowly with pleasure. Shyam prepared such a ruthless plan as he had planned. His ordered items arrived, but he got suspicious, so he checked. He checked whether the saw was working or not, because if the saw did not work at the last moment, his plan would be ruined. He was very careful about this. When he checked, initially the saw was working very well, but in the middle, as he thought, the saw got stuck. So he thought that he would order another machine, but if that also got stuck in the middle, he was afraid his entire plan would be ruined. Immediately, he changed his plan. Instead of the saw, he thought he would order something else. He ordered a knife sharpening machine. When the machine arrived, he started sharpening the knife. You must be thinking, brother, he has ordered a new knife, which will already be sharp, so why is he sharpening it again? If I tell you the reason, you'll understand. He was very careful not to make any mistakes. You can understand his stubbornness because he also sharpened the other edge of the knife. Usually, the lower edge of the knife is sharp, but he sharpened the upper edge. This also meant that when he did this, he would get hurt from both sides. He made the knife sharp like a sword. Now he had completely prepared the weapons for murder. While he was waiting for that special day, on the 22nd of October, he kept all the weapons in a bag. He hung the bag on his shoulder and wore a t-shirt over it. Then he wore a dilly full sleeves t-shirt over it. Wearing a mask on his face and a yellow cap on his head, he prepared like a trained killer and got ready to take revenge on Priya. He parked his bike 500 meters away from Priya's house and walked from there. Priya's neighbors, who saw him coming, thought he was a masked robber. They immediately stopped him and asked who he was and where he was going. Shyam, who was not expecting all this, got nervous, but without showing any panic, he pointed to Priya's house and said that the TV of that house was broken and they had called him. He also said that he was an electrician and was going there. The neighbor believed him and asked him to go, so he went. He stood in front of the house and started wondering whether Priya would be alone or with someone else. At first, he was thinking whether she would be here or at her grandmother's house. He knew that her grandmother had passed away, so when all these questions were running through his mind, he decided to hide near the house. But after that, he thought that if he went inside the house, someone might see him, and his plan might fail, so he started walking here and there in panic. While walking, he saw a pair of slippers outside the house. He started thinking that maybe they were Priya's slippers, so he guessed Priya was inside the house. Instead of going through the front door, he went toward the back door. When he reached inside the house, he went straight toward Priya's bedroom. When he reached the bedroom, he started hearing Priya talking to someone else. He went and stood at the door of the room, took off his mask, and looked inside. At that moment, Priya was sitting on the bed and looking the other way. She was talking to someone on a video call. That person was no one else but the same person whom Shyam suspected was in love with Priya. Seeing him, Shyam's anger reached its peak. At the same time, Priya looked back and, seeing Shyam standing in front of her room, she was surprised and started thinking, in shock, what he was doing there. She told the person on the video call that Shyam had come and turned her phone to show it on the camera. Actually, at that time, the person was already listening to their conversation and doing a screen recording. That recording was in her new lover's phone. Shyam's face got recorded in that mobile, but after that, suddenly, the scene of the mobile falling was shown, and immediately the video call got disconnected. What happened there was that, in the blink of an eye, Shyam took out a hammer from his bag and started hitting Priya on the back of her head. Her mobile fell from her hand, and the call got disconnected. Priya froze in shock due to this attack, and within a few minutes, she started screaming because she could not bear the pain. But Shyam, like a madman, started hitting her on the head repeatedly with a hammer. Then, he took out a knife that he had prepared in advance and started attacking Priya's entire body. Priya tried to protect herself with her hands, causing her to get injured. Within a few minutes, Priya became unconscious. After that, Shyam started stabbing her with the knife everywhere on her chest and stomach. Finally, he pulled Priya's head down from the bed and, like a madman, tried to cut Priya's head with a knife. A lot of blood came out during this time, and within a few minutes, Priya died. It is difficult to imagine how much pain she must have endured at that time. The place was filled with blood. At the same time, calls started coming on Priya's mobile. Shyam saw that his mother was calling. Seeing this, he regained consciousness and came out of the house. He took off the blood-stained gloves and t-shirt and kept them in his bag, then quickly took his bike and went home. After this, he went to a banana plantation, 150 meters behind his house, to a small farm. In the pond, he washed the murder weapons and put them in a bag, tied them to a stone, and then threw the bag into the pond. After this, he went home, took a bath, changed his clothes, then went to his father's hotel and started behaving as if nothing had happened. He started serving food to the customers, and after that, everything happened as we saw in the beginning. Priya's death became sensational news. The police traced him through his phone number and arrested him. Shyam confessed to the police that everything had happened, but he had no remorse while confessing. Not only this, but everyone was surprised to hear his words. Shyam told the police, "I know the punishment for murder is 14 years. Now I am 25. If I go to jail now, I will come out at the age of 39. I just don't see any harm in it." He replied like this, without any remorse. Whether he said it out of stubbornness or to tease the police, whichever way we take it, I just told a bitter truth. Okay, viewers, now you might have another question in your mind. Maybe he learned everything by heart, made a complete plan for 6 months, and executed it. But how did the police catch him so easily? This question may be in your mind because Shyamji is a sensible person. And this is the reason, even if he committed murder, no matter how hard he tries to escape, he knows the truth. Somehow or the other, the police will catch him. So, he only planned the murder but did not plan to escape. Then why did he hide his bag the reason for his next murder? Yes, when the police examined the bag in the pond, they found the murder weapon, a t-shirt, and a packet of chili powder. And when they found hair in another packet and interrogated him, he said that he had taken the chili powder for his own safety, and the hair he collected from the barber shop. As he had planned, when he returned after the first murder, he had planned to put those hairs at that place. The police would inquire about it and would be interested in finding that person. Now, with those hairs, I had attracted the attention of the police. I tried to distract them. During that time, I decided to kill Priya's boyfriend. Shyam said that was the reason he had kept the hair. But why didn't he leave the hair there? Maybe because Priya's new boyfriend was watching her through a video call. Shyam thought he would definitely tell the police, so he abandoned this plan. And as Shyam had thought, the person gave the call recording to the police. This became a strong piece of evidence against Shyam. After committing such a gruesome murder, when he stubbornly told the police that he would come out at the age of 39, they reduced his 39-year sentence to 49 years. In other words, they gave him an additional sentence of 10 years. Along with that, he was also fined rupee 1 lakh. Before falling in love with someone, think 1,000 times or more, and then get involved in that relationship. Otherwise, after falling in love, the real truth of some people comes out. If you come to know about their real nature in between, and you are in a position to break that relationship, instead of leaving suddenly, explain to them and slowly get out of the relationship. And if you immediately get involved in another relationship, problems can start. This was the reason for Vishnupriya becoming a victim. Be it love or marriage, both relationships have a sharp edge. They are like knives. It has to be taken care of. Otherwise, the person who is involved in it can become a victim. Similarly, boys should accept the breakup. If a girl does not like you, then you should not bother her. If you bother her by marrying someone else, then try to understand it. Yes, it will definitely be painful, but if you overcome it, your life will change completely. If you leave it, it will be better. If you try to take revenge, not only will your life be ruined, but also the life of your parents. So, my dear viewers, what do you think about it? Do not forget to comment below with your opinion, and also tell me what case or topic you want for the next time. Your best comment will be shown in the next video. I will meet you in the next video. Thanks.